People don't like being told what to do. During COVID is a classic example of what we call reactance theory. Reactance theory. So reactance means reacting. Okay? So Nick, when everyone whether you're in Sydney or in Victoria or you're in Brisbane, Gold Coast, wherever else, particularly in Victoria states, in New South Wales state, very severe lockdowns in COVID. Everyone was told, including New Zealand and Canada and UK, everywhere, mostly everywhere, very stringent, very strict lockdowns. And what we were all told to do, we were told not to panic buy. What did we all go and do?
Panic.
Right, because we don't like being told what to do. So don't tell people what to do. Selling is never about telling people what to do. It's about asking.
Welcome back to another episode of Limitless. Today I'm very excited. We have a guest all the way from New Zealand. Welcome, Singen, who's going to talk with us about sales, and we're going to talk about selling, closing. A warm welcome to you, Singen. How are you today?
I'm good, Nick. It's St. John here from New Zealand, and you're 2 hours. I'm phoning you from the future. Just 2 hours ahead. That's all we are.
Fantastic, pretty close by. And you're the managing director with Rural Sales Success. And we're going to talk about buyer psychology and closing the sale and why that's overrated and so on. But before we dig into this, could you introduce yourself briefly to the list?
Yeah, sure. So my name's St. John. I'm based in New Zealand. I've been running my own business now for close to 10 years. I'm a farmer's son from UK originally, wife and family and kids, all New Zealanders, Kiwis. Spend a lot of time training in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, UK, Ireland and America. And we train rural sales managers and rural sales reps. Anyone that manages a rural sales team who sells to farmers. So machinery, feed, fertilizer, very niche, very specialized, and served us well.
Fantastic much for that intro. And as we were preparing for this show and when we spoke, you said that it's about serving instead of selling. And maybe we can start there. What do you mean with that?
Yeah, great. So everyone has a hang up with sales, and most entrepreneurs, most founders are terrified of the concept of being salesy or icky or sleazy. And that used car salesman, and everyone's obsessed about marketing and funnels and leads and automation and everything else. That's important, but the sales experience is important, because then if you don't have a good sales experience, you don't have a customer experience. So I always say, and it sounds like an absolute statement, but sales solves all problems. Sales solves all problems, because you can build your moat, right? So when you make more sales, as long as you're making an acceptable margin, and I'm not a CFO, I'm a sales guy, what we're trying to do is we teach the teams that we teach, and it's applicable to whatever sector you sell in, is you need to reframe your understanding and redefine what you mean by sales. Sales is all about serving, not selling. So we talk about this mantra or this methodology of serve to sell using non-assumptive selling techniques, which means stop selling. Like, that's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do is sell something to sell one. What we do is we teach people to be a buyer's assistant. What I mean by that, it's not your fancy name, your new job title, your business card or your email signature. Your job is to only help your ideal client, whoever that might be, make good, accurate, informed decisions that will benefit them, not yourself. So it's a service. So this is why we talk about serve to sell. So that kind of encapsulates, makes people feel a lot more comfortable about this whole concept of selling, because no one likes to be sold to, but everyone loves making good decisions. And in order to make good decisions, you need someone who's going to support you and help you make those good decisions. We want you to be a buyer's assistant. We don't want to be a salesperson, because if you sell the same, you'll be treated the same.
Right. And we heard a saying as well, right, that we don't want to sell. We want people to buy from you. What do you think about putting it in that context?
Sure. So basically, the problem with sales is everyone's obsessed about serving their own needs. So if I was to turn up to you, Nick, and sell to you, you don't want to be sold to, you want to make good decisions. So everyone, when it comes to selling, in order to sell something, someone has to buy. In order for someone to buy, they need to decide. So you need to understand and be a student of psychology and understand human decision making, because no one buys anything and no one makes a sale till someone makes a decision. So we have this sort of chain reaction. So to keep it simple for your listeners is we need to be more focused on the buying process rather than the salesperson. This is why we talk about buyer assistant. This is why we talk about buyer's brain, which we may or may not have time to go into. But it's very important to navigate those things and position yourself as everything that the others aren't, so that they treat you differently, particularly in those first vital sort of 30 seconds where you open your mouth and what comes out of it.
Yeah, and let's go a little bit deeper there. I would love to pick your brain there on the psychological part of this. What is it that is happening, and can you share something that is meaningful? Because I think we have a lot of entrepreneurs and also executives these days. If they're not selling a product or service, everyone is out there trying to sell perhaps themselves as a keynote speaker or something else.
Yeah, so we talk about, I think Daniel Priestley talks about key person of influence or personal branding or thought leadership and everything else. What I would say, the most important part of any sales process isn't the product or service that you sell or the company you work for or the customer. It's you, the person. So they buy into you, unless you're selling widgets online, they're buying into you. So, say with some of your entrepreneurial clients, without getting all some saying, it's your founder's philosophy, it's your origin, it's your story, it's your why. Like, why do you do what you do? And they buy into that and buy into you before they buy into anything else. So there's that context. Now, the psychology side of it is very simple. Let me keep it, because it's complicated, so I'm going to make it simple. People don't like being told what to do. During COVID is a classic example of what we call reactance theory. Reactance theory. So reactance means reacting. Okay? So Nick, when everyone whether you're in Sydney or in Victoria or you're in Brisbane, Gold Coast, wherever else, particularly in Victoria states, in New South Wales state, very severe lockdowns in COVID. Everyone was told, including New Zealand and Canada and UK, everywhere, mostly everywhere, very stringent, very strict lockdowns. And what we were all told to do, we were told not to panic buy. What did we all go and do?
Panic.
Right, because we don't like being told what to do. So don't tell people what to do. Selling is never about telling people what to do. It's about asking. And what I teach is mastering the art of the sales conversation so it doesn't feel or sound like a sales conversation. And that's basically fueled by asking quality questions, really good questions.
Yes, and I love the fact that you bring in asking quality questions here, because that's something that I work on myself, coaching skills and so on, and how to be good listeners. And when it comes then to this process, selling, buying, and making that serving instead of selling, what should we think about when it comes to asking questions?
It's the way you ask your questions, not just the questions you ask. So the way in which you ask your questions is important as what the questions are. So I might say to you, Nick, if you're reaching out and it's an inbound inquiry from a website or a paid ad or whatever you're running, we'll talk about outbound in a minute and cold calling and all those prospecting things. But I think cold calling is a little bit, a little bit in the ages. We'll talk about that later. So you reach out to me, and the first question I ask you, Nick, is, hey, Nick, thanks so much for reaching out. Really appreciate it. Thank you for thinking of us. Hey, Nick, I've got a question. I hope you don't mind me starting there. Is that okay? Is that okay to start there? And you'll say yes, because I've asked nicely. Because I'm not going to stun and surprise you now. I will say, Nick, tell me, why are you potentially even looking at something like this now? Could we start there? And then, am I selling to you or are you selling to me? So who's qualifying who? You're qualifying or disqualifying yourself now, because we've reframed. So we talk about framing, we talk about future proofing, we can talk about all these techniques we don't have time to talk to. What I'm doing is getting you to tell me why you do or do not want this thing and if I can help you or not. So that's the power of one question. I might ask you another question. These are all really useful questions for your listeners to write down, which is, next one might be, hey, Nick, so tell me, before we get into this and all the things that we do and how amazing we might be, that's called disarmament. That's a disarming tactic there, because I get you from the back of your brain to the middle of your brain. I then will say to you, what's the problem you're trying to solve? What's the problem you're trying to solve here? Now, this goes straight to the front of their brain, which is their executive decision making, the prefrontal part of their brain, and they're now in problem solving mode. Okay? So what we're doing is, when I meet you for the first time, you'll be in the back of your brain, your reptilian brain, and I move you to the limbic, and I need to move you to the prefrontal, and we go back, middle, and front. So this is some of the stuff we teach. So these questions are designed to appeal to the right parts of the brain.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing those hands-on tips there. And I wanted also to ask you about the discovery call. There's a lot of us who have discovery call, connection calls, perhaps with potential clients and so on. How should we approach those, and any tips from you there to make them work?
Perfect. First thing you do in Discovery School is you don't sell. Okay. The second thing you do in Discovery School is you get curious and you're more interested in serving their needs than anyone else's. Now, there are much better, more credible and proven people that can advise you around triage and automation and landing pages and tension and frictions and forms and all the UX and all that kind of stuff. The most thing important is, I never ever go onto any call with any prospect thinking I'm going to sell them anything. What I'm trying to do is being a buyer's assistant. This is a very important concept for your listeners to understand, to make their buyers feel safe. You need to be a buyer's assistant, which then gets your buyer into the right part of their brain. Because you remember, Nick, everyone trots out this line, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. As you know, and all the great work you do on your podcast, it's very hard to trust someone if you don't feel safe with that someone. So the first thing we need to do is make someone feel safe. And the way to make someone feel not safe is to start selling to them. The way you make them feel safe is serving them by asking them questions that benefit and clarify their decision-making process, which is buying, as opposed to me focus on selling.
I like how you framed it there, and it's leading up to them buying and we are not selling. But we're still going to move eventually to part of the call which is coming to an end and closing maybe there. What should we focus on then instead of trying to close?
I love it. I love it. Because everyone's focused on the close, right? Get the money, show me the money, close, always be closing. BS. Bullshit. What we do, I could say much more horrible things about this because I think traditional sales training's got that wrong. We have got an obsession over closing. We need to forget closing and we need to have an obsession about opening and connecting. All right. So behind you, Nick, I'm assuming there might be a door or window or it's shut. And it's impossible for you to shut that door or window because it's already shut. It's already closed. So I'd say you, Nick, close that window behind you or close that door because we're on a podcast and I don't want you to be interrupted. You're saying with St. John, it's already closed. It's a physical impossibility to close an object or a person that's already closed off. And the way you close someone off is immediately thinking you're going to sell them something. So if you think about like how people pick up on your vibe or your pheromones, and we can get into all that kind of stuff, which is we haven't got time for, they sense when they know that you're serving them or selling to them. They will know instinctively within seconds if I'm helping you. And do you know how they do that? They judge it by your tone and the quality of your question. So if you're curious, and that's the hack for your tone, when I gave you that question, hey, Nick, before we jump in and talk about whether we can help you or not, tell me, why are you potentially even looking at this now? Like, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Do you see what we've just done there? I've moved you to the middle part of your brain where you feel safe, the limbic part of your brain. When you come on a discovery call, what do you all think what's your biggest worry? What do you think when you jump onto a sales call? We all call them discovery calls, but they're a sales call. What are you worried about, Nick, when you jump onto a discovery call? I'm doing it with rabbit little fingers with my, inverted commas. What do you think? Yeah. What are you worried about?
I think I'm worried that someone is going to close me on a deal.
Someone's trying to sell me.
Yeah.
Why doesn't someone serve you and say, Nick, look, this is how I understand it, and I think this is probably the thing you need to do. Now, I think we can help you with that, or we might not be able to help you with that. Now, everyone goes, oh, well, that's integrity. Well, if you have to say the word integrity, you don't have any integrity, okay? This is just a way of being, a way of showing up. So the dynamic of the conversation changes when you're focused on being a buyer's assistant rather than a sales rep. And I can share with you, I can do this by magic. You see this is the buyer's brain, okay? So this is what we call the Trion brain. I'm sure you recognized it. You probably taught this to your students and your patients. You have the back of the brain, the middle of the brain, the front of the brain, okay? Back of the brain is reptilian, fight, flight, freeze. We call it the fear brain, okay? Connects to the vagus nerve. You know all about this. Limbic brain is your feeling brain, and then the prefrontal cortex is your thinking brain. So the back is fear, the middle is feel, and the top is think. So this magically lines up with the right different parts of the brain. So all your listeners going, what do you mean like buyer's brain and buyer's assistant? If you can see this, if you imagine your brain at the back, if you're a salesperson and you're selling to them and they detect that you're a salesperson because you sound like everyone else, you appeal to the back of their brain. If you're a buyer's assistant, you appeal to the middle of their brain where they feel safe. And when they feel safe, they can then think, and then you become their trusted advisor. Everyone wants to be everyone's trusted advisor. You're not their trusted advisor until you've earned that over a period and compound of time. So I just thought I'd share that image with you because I can press buttons and bring them up and all that jazz.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Sinjan. And I think that's basically all the time we have today. We've been digging into why serving beats selling every time and looking at the buyer psychology and why closing is so overrated. But before I let you go, is there any question that I forgot to ask you? Anything you would like to add here before we move on today?
I think the question everyone asks me is, how do you become successful in sales? And how do you become successful in business? I'll give you one word in mind. I'll give you two answers. First is consistency. You must be consistent. So you've been superbly consistent on your podcast, Nick. We're a few episodes behind you, but consistency beats intensity. And the second thing is you need to be a student of psychology. You need to understand how people think and behave and how they make their decisions. So I want you to be insatiably curious about the person in front of you. Be more interested in the person in front of you than the product or service you sell. The third thing I'll give you for bonus is this. You know this as a professional athlete. You have to be willing to do the work even when you don't want to do it. And that's success. So I say consistency, curiosity, which is just a basic term for psychology, and making sure you're willing to do the work even when you won't want to do that. You do those three things right, and a lot will go right for you.
That'd be wonderful. I will do that. You know, being a cyclist from Sweden, I'm used to go out in rain, 7 degrees. You know it in New Zealand as well. It doesn't matter. The training has to get done, right?
Yes, Stefan. You got to do it. You got to do the reps. If you do the reps, remember, repetition's the mother of all learning. Do the reps. Do the compound.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sinjan, and thanks to all the listeners as well for having been with us today to talk about why serving beats selling every time. Thank you, and bye for now.